Hey there, Facebook. It's Matt Bradley. I'm a foreign correspondent for NBC News, and I'm in Rome right now. Now, we just saw numbers announced by the Italian government, 651 dead. That is a really, really high number by global standards, but it's not as high as yesterday's, which was a record-breaking 793. Nearly 800 dead. That's the highest of any 24-hour period anywhere in the world since this whole crisis started. And it really just goes to show that the focus of the coronavirus crisis is now here in Europe, specifically here in Italy, specifically in northern Italy, the region of Lombardy. And that's why last night we heard from the governor of Lombardy. He came out and he said that there were going to be even more restrictions on this already really restrictive lockdown, that, you know, it's been locking down all of Italy for the last more like 10 days, but in Lombardy, it's nearly been a month. And it just goes to show that these numbers are going to be delayed. There's going to be a lag behind the time when they impose a lockdown, which we're starting to see in California and New York and various other places in the United States. And when we start seeing that lockdown figure into the numbers, the death rates, the number of transmissions, all of that is still super high here in Italy. Now, we saw in China when they implemented their lockdown, their quarantines, there was a lag. It was weeks and weeks and weeks, but they've now kind of gotten on top of those numbers. And now we're starting to see restrictions lifting. And we started to see in just the last couple of days, for the first time, there were some days where we saw no new transmissions at all. Now, if China is seeing rising numbers, they're seeing it coming from outside, from foreigners who are visiting China with the coronavirus. So again, still tragic, but it shows that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But here in Europe, we just saw today, Placido Domingo, the famous opera star, he said that he has the coronavirus. Angela Merkel is now in quarantine, in isolation, because she may have gotten the coronavirus from contact with other people that she knows who have tested positive for the coronavirus. And it just goes to show that anybody can get this disease, and that a lot of people who get this disease, and this is really a big part of the problem, they keep walking around. They have no idea that they have it. And that's why even my team and I here in Rome, we've been here for more than a week now, and we start to wonder whether we have the disease. We're young people, whether we're not feeling any symptoms. It's a big issue. And it's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't feel symptoms and then suddenly do. They delay going to the hospital. And that's why when we were talking about people in Lombardy, some of these ICU hospitals, they've been reporting that actually the age of the people who have been admitted to the ICUs are actually starting to decrease, because young people are getting the disease and not going to the hospitals, not seeking treatment. Well, mostly because the hospitals simply can't handle them. They can't take people who don't have the most severe symptoms. So the symptoms are allowed to fester, and eventually they have to go into the ICU, taking up very, very valuable beds. There are only about 800 ICU beds in northern Italy. Not enough to go around. So that's why doctors there are having to perform triage, having to decide who deserves the most intensive care. It's a really grim business to go about trying to decide basically who lives or who dies.